It's February in the Barossa Valley and the grapes are ripe for picking. The time of year when growers roll up their sleeves and get to work. Some vineyards have already begun, but it's not until the bells toll in the heart of the valley that the vintage officially starts. At the annual Vintage Festival in Tanunda, the grapes are officially blessed and ceremonially crushed by the finest grower and winemaker from the year before. It's an old tradition in this historic town.
This is a gorgeous day and celebrating a lot of terrific contributors to the Barossa.
Do you love the tradition?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're all about wine. We're all about grapes. And it's great to do it with a little bit of regalia.
Welcome to the 2025 Barossa Declaration of Vintage.
The Barons of Barossa run the event. The group includes some of the finest winemakers in the valley. They regularly gather for luncheons and events to preserve the region's traditions, where respect for the past runs deep. The grounds at Yalumba Winery haven't always looked this beautiful, but they have been here for 176 years, in the hands of the Hill-Smith family.
How you doing? Welcome.
Beautiful place you got here.
Oh, we do our best.
I'm sure you do. Robert Hill-Smith is the current proprietor and fifth-generation custodian.
Well, what's it like to be such an almost institution in the Barossa?
It's not a problem.
Most of the region's top winemakers have studied at the estate, but Robert never threw his hat in with the Barons. Instead, he became part of a grassroots movement in the 1980s to protect and prosper from what the valley had to offer.
A number of people looked at what the assets were the Barossa had other than wine. You know, what are the things that are distinctive, that are worth hanging on to and ring fencing for future generations to enjoy and build economic value from.
The Barossa Region Residents Association was formed with the goal of using their heritage to elevate the region's international status.
They were a formidable group that have reformed in recent years, that really understand, I think, the long-term value in the distinctive assets that Barossa has got, other than just a vineyard or a building here and building there.
The group secured key legislation to preserve the rural amenity of the Barossa, the Character Preservation Act. Now, 13 years after it was passed, Robert believes the Act needs more clout. Developers have come knocking on Barossa doors, and some locals, like the Residents Association, believe their concerns are being overlooked by state and local governments.
I don't think agencies value it enough, see enough in it, and they therefore, without seeing value in it, and having a robust agency like a local government or state government take it seriously, then they tend to just bypass it in all their planning.
So you're telling me these are the oldest Shiraz vines in the world?
Well, we believe they are. So you go back to the 1840s and already the Barossa.
A new generation now wants to be heard on the impact of new developments on the traditions of the Barossa.
I'm in a position that I am today, and Langmile's in a position today because the work that other people, the generations before us, had done.
James Lingner from Langmile Winery is the new head of the Residents Association, and he also wants to see the Act made more robust and the voice of the community heard in the hallways of power.
We're the constant, aren't we? The community and the generations of people here. You know, we're here because we love it and we're going to be here for generations. So as the constant, I suppose it's important that we continue to have a voice in where the future goes and what we want our region to look like.
But it's the very character of the Barossa that has brought tourists in their thousands every year, and now the region desperately needs accommodation. The Barossa Valley Resort is the only large-scale accommodation available, and that's a problem according to Jake McVicker, the Director of Development at the Barossa Council.
At the moment, if you don't stay at the Novotel, you're looking for an Airbnb or some other smaller motel type offering. So it is missing that one larger 5-6 star resort style conference facility restaurant type land use.
But one man believes he has a solution, which will not only provide more beds, but also bring a whole new market to the region. The old and the new of Barossa winemaking come together here at Seppeltsfield. Despite its origins in the 19th century, this winery's only seen a revamp in the last 15 years. And there's plans for more.
When I got here, she felt like Grandma, and Grandma ready to die. So what I wanted to do was inject some life, some energy, some effort, some enthusiasm, all the E's really, including expenditure, into her and get her dancing again.
Warren Randall took over Seppeltsfield in 2009 and has since won international awards for his redevelopment of its cellar door. But his next build is even more ambitious. A 72-bed, 6-star resort, the Oscar, aimed at bringing in top-tier international tourists to the region. He believes it will project Seppeltsfield and the Barossa to even greater heights globally.
When we put Oscar in, I think we'll go top 5. And if we're one of the top 5 vineyards of the world, it absolutely will attract world attention.
Warren likens his plan to the Eiffel Tower or the Sydney Opera House, but the most obvious comparison lies just 100 kilometres south. Completed in 2017, the Darrenberg Cube has proved a popular tourist attraction from the McLaren Vale south of Adelaide. A visually striking statement piece, the kind Warren wants to replicate in the Barossa.
It needs a shunt. It needs an iconic architectural building where people go, we have to go to the Barossa Valley. We have to go and see Oscar.
But the design of the building is controversial. Locals have dubbed the hotel the Slug, some taking legal action in an unsuccessful attempt to halt its construction.
I think people have had their opportunity to vent their concerns, and ultimately the decision makers saw merit in it and it got approved.
There will be some people who love it and some people hate it. At the end of the day, it's my land. I bought it, I own it, and I have a right to build what I like on it.
The Oscar isn't the only luxury hotel destined for Barossa vineyards. A new Intercontinental is planned in the south of the valley, a proposal fully backed by the state government.
And it totally immersed into the landscape itself. Brilliant.
With SA Premier Peter Malinauskas fully backing the entry of big developers into the region.
We need these types of developments here. I think they're a good thing. They've got to be done tastefully and in concert with the beauty of the Barossa. That is absolutely critical.
And while he acknowledges the need for the Character Preservation Act, he doesn't think it should stand in the way of essential improvements in accommodation.
I'm in favour of having high quality hotel accommodation here, and I know that other developments have been controversial. That has gone through the process. It has been examined uphill and down dale. It has been contested in court and has been approved, and I'm grateful for that.
These hotels might not even be built yet, but they have ignited tension. Of those opposed, the Residents Association is the most vocal, including its founder, Barossa luminary Robert O'Callaghan.
If you want to be better, you've got to be different. And building a standard, bog standard 100 and 200 room hotel in the middle of a landscape that should be protected is not the solution to the problem.
He believes the solution is the same, preserving what the Barossa already has through the Character Preservation Act.
The anti-development voice you hear a lot of is there, and they just don't want development. But the other reality is that there are a group of very successful international businesses in this region, and they're all smart enough to know that if you do this properly, everybody wins.
With court challenges over, the first sod is expected to be turned on the Oscar this year. The Residents Association will continue to advocate for the Character Preservation Act to be strengthened to moderate future development proposals for their valley.
It's going to be a pretty...
Among them is Dave Lehman, the son of famed winemaker Peter Lehman. He now runs his own small winery called David France, choosing to forego his famous name to create something of his own. But inspired by his trailblazing parents, Dave wants to leave a legacy for coming generations. His daughter Georgie is one of his winemakers, and together they're determined to have a say in the Barossa's future.
Beautiful. For me, it's the Barossa is my home, my future. You know, with the next generation coming through, we're not just protecting it for ourselves. It's about protecting it for Georgie, and in June, Georgie will be a mother, I'll be a grandfather. So, you know, there's, you know, just sitting at the table, you've got 3 generations here.
Yeah.
One's cooking.
One's the foodist.
And while Dave and Georgie aren't as opposed to the Oscar as others, they feel change is needed in how the local community is consulted.
I didn't particularly dislike the design. It's neither here nor there in some ways, but I think it's less about what Oscar was and more about the way it represented itself as to how the process was applied.
A lot of us locals felt like we would maybe wanted to be a bit more involved with the designs, and like it just sort of felt very like, this is what's happening.
The desire to maintain heritage is ingrained and deeply evident in the Barossa community.
You fight for it or you lose it. You've got 2 choices, and it's really worth fighting for.
While the work is hard here, it has its rewards. Those who others might see as competitors come together as friends to discuss the best way to move forward together. Over a glass of wine, of course.